You ever sat in a room and someone made a slick comment like you weren't even there? You ever been talked down to, not with words that scream, but with tones that quietly say, "You don't matter"? You ever shown up for people only to get ignored, dismissed, or treated like you're disposable? Yeah, that's disrespect. Not always loud, not always obvious, but real and dangerous, because it chips away at something deeper than your feelings. It chips away at your self-worth. And the worst part? No one teaches you how to deal with it. They teach you algebra. They teach you history. They teach you how to shake hands and smile through it. But they don't teach you how to protect your value when someone tries to walk all over it. Instead, they tell you, don't take it personally. Just let it go. Be the bigger person. But let's be real. When the disrespect keeps happening, when the boundary keeps getting crossed, when your silence is being mistaken for weakness, you start to question if letting it go is wisdom or just a habit of self-betrayal. The way you handle disrespect tells the world how to treat you. Every time you laugh it off when it's not funny, every time you keep the peace by sacrificing yours, every time you stay quiet just to avoid the awkward moment, you're not being mature. You're being trained. Trained to shrink. Trained to settle. Trained to believe that your boundaries don't matter. And if you don't course correct, if you don't stop and say, enough, you'll wake up in a life filled with resentment, self-doubt, and relationships built on conditions you never agreed to. But let me tell you something loud and clear. You were not born to be walked over. You don't need to throw hands to stand tall. You don't need to explode to express power. You don't need to match their disrespect to reclaim your worth. And you definitely don't need to keep proving your value to people too blind to see it. So what do you do when someone disrespects you? You don't react, you respond. With presence, with poise, with power that doesn't yell, it resonates. With energy that says, I could respond, but I don't owe you that access. Because most people, they expect you to break. They expect you to either blow up or back down. But when you stay calm, when you breathe, think, and hold your ground, you send a message that's louder than any argument. I know who I am. You don't get to move me. This isn't about revenge. It's about realignment. It's about recognizing that some disrespect isn't worth confronting. It's worth walking away from. It's about building an identity so secure that someone's ignorance can't shake your peace. And here's the deeper truth. When you elevate, not everyone's going to like it. When you grow, when you set boundaries, when you stop accepting crumbs, the people who benefited from your silence will call it ego. They'll call you too cold, too distant, too full of yourself. Why? Because you're no longer playing the game that kept them comfortable. Let them. Let them mislabel your peace. Let them misunderstand your standards. Let them whisper. Let them watch. Because you're not here to be understood by small minds. You're here to build a life so solid, no disrespect can shake it. So today, we're not just talking about clapping back. We're not talking about petty comebacks or passive-aggressive silence. We're talking about building a mindset so stable, a soul so grounded, a vision so focused that disrespect doesn't even get close. Not because you're numb, not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the need to react. You've matured into power. And that kind of control, that kind of composure, that's a level most people never reach. Number 1, disrespect is a mirror, not a measure. Here's the first truth you've got to accept. Disrespect is not always about you. It's a mirror of their insecurity, not a measure of your value. People who are hurting often hurt others. People who feel powerless try to dominate. People who've never seen real confidence, they mock it. So when someone comes at you sideways, don't internalize it, analyze it. Because if you don't learn to separate your worth from someone else's behavior, You'll start shrinking to fit their broken lens. You'll carry offense that was never yours. You'll start believing lies planted by people who never took the time to understand your truth. You've got to be grounded enough to say, that's not mine. That's their projection. That's their chaos. That's their small mind trying to rattle a growing one. When your self-worth is anchored internally, you stop depending on outside respect to feel whole. You stop needing validation to stand tall. You stop letting petty people dictate powerful emotions. And that shift right there, that's the beginning of unshakable composure. Disrespect doesn't get to define you unless you let it. So stop taking it personally. Start taking it as information, not about who you are, but about who they are and what you no longer need to entertain. Number 2, respond with power, not emotion. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to snap back, to match their energy, to prove your strength by reacting louder, faster, harder. But listen closely. Real power doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't flinch, it decides. When you respond emotionally to disrespect, you give them control. You hand over the keys to your peace, your focus, your day, sometimes even your destiny. And for what? A moment of ego satisfaction? That's a poor trade. Disrespect doesn't require a performance, it requires a decision. A decision to keep your standards high even when the energy around you gets low. A decision to protect your peace, not perform your pain. Let them wonder why you didn't react. Let them feel the weight of your silence. Let them be confused by your calm. Because that confusion, that's your power unsettling their chaos. Understand this. Not everything deserves a response. Not every insult requires a rebuttal. Not every fool deserves your stage. Sometimes the most powerful move is to simply walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough not to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. You've got bigger battles to win. You've got higher levels to reach. You've got a future that doesn't have time for distractions dressed as disrespect. So next time they test you, don't give them the reaction they're fishing for. Give them your silence and your progress. That's how you lead the game. Number 3, your energy is currency. Spend it wisely. Every time you respond to pettiness, you pay a price. You're not just losing time, you're leaking energy, mental, emotional, spiritual energy. And that energy, it's your fuel for building something greater. See, disrespect isn't always loud. It's the sly comment that lingers, the fake smile that masks resentment, the passive-aggressive dig that's meant to pull you out of character. And if you're not careful, you'll start fighting invisible battles, trying to win arguments that don't exist, trying to be liked by people who don't even like themselves. That's the trap. But when you truly understand how valuable your energy is, you start asking better questions. Is this worth my peace? Is this worth delaying my goals? Is this moment helping me build, or is it just bait? Because your destiny requires energy. Your healing requires energy. Your next level requires every drop of focus you've got. You can't keep wasting it on people who benefit from your distraction. Some people don't disrespect you because they hate you. They disrespect you because they see something in you they can't control. And instead of dealing with their own limitations, they try to dim your light. But don't give them that power. You've got to guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. When you master where your energy flows, you master how fast your life grows. And in a world that feeds on drama, your discipline becomes dangerous. So protect your power, not with fists, not with fire, but with focus. And remember this, the highest form of respect you can give yourself is to stop entertaining what doesn't grow you. Number 4, detach from opinions, attach to purpose. You will never rise while staying attached to the opinions of people who've never built anything worth rising to. The moment you let their words control your worth, you hand them power over your path. And here's the reality. Most people don't want to understand you. They want to label you. They don't see your purpose, they only see your posture. They misread your silence as weakness, your distance as arrogance, your focus as coldness. But you didn't come here to be understood. You came here to become undeniable. You've got to stop shrinking yourself to fit their comfort. You've got to stop explaining your peace to people addicted to chaos. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them scroll past and throw shade. You're not here to react. You're here to rise. And rising requires detachment. Detach from needing their validation. Detach from wanting their applause. Detach from the fear of being misjudged. Because when you attach yourself to purpose, to vision, to values, to goals that stretch your soul, you become untouchable. They can't reach you because they're not willing to climb like you. When you live on purpose, petty doesn't reach you. When you move with clarity, confusion can't shake you. And when your mission becomes louder than your need to be liked, you become the most dangerous kind of person. Focused, silent, and unstoppable. So from this point forward, make a decision. Be understood by everyone, or become unstoppable to everyone. You can't have both. Number 5, emotional control is self-respect. Let me tell you something most people won't. Your emotions will destroy everything you've built if you don't learn to command them. Not control, command. Because control sounds like repression. But command? That's ownership. That's mastery. You ever see someone lose it over something so small? A comment, a look, a delay. They explode, not because it was that serious, but because they're that untrained. Untrained in patience, untrained in restraint, untrained in what it means to be bigger than the moment. And the cost? They give their peace away for free. They burn bridges they might need later. They lower their frequency to meet people who never deserved their time to begin with. Here's the truth. When someone disrespects you, the loudest thing you can do is say nothing. When life throws chaos your way, the strongest move you can make is to breathe, pause, and respond, not react. Because reaction is easy, response is power. Your emotions are signals, not steering wheels. They're messengers, not masters. The moment you stop letting every trigger pull you out of position, you become untouchable. People will test you on purpose. They'll try to drag you down to their level because misery needs company. But don't accept the invitation. Don't give them that control. This is where your next level lives, in your ability to stay grounded while the storm rages, to protect your peace like it's sacred ground, to show the world that you are no longer at the mercy of your moods. Because if you can't lead yourself emotionally, you'll never lead your life intentionally. The moment you become emotionally disciplined is the moment life stops tossing you around and starts bending in your favor. That's not luck. That's power. Number 6, their opinions are none of your business. Let's make this clear. The people who have the most to say about your life are usually the ones doing the least with theirs. They'll mock your progress because it reminds them of their procrastination. They'll minimize your growth because it highlights their stagnation. They'll label you too much, too different, too distant, because your evolution exposes their refusal to evolve. But here's your freedom. You don't owe anyone an explanation for becoming better. You're not obligated to shrink so they can feel tall. You don't have to tone down your ambition to keep fragile egos comfortable. You're not required to be relatable to people who don't even relate to their own potential. Their opinions, let them keep them. You've got work to do. The higher you climb, the quieter you must become. Not because you're hiding, but because your focus can't afford the noise. Let them say you've changed. That's the goal. Let them say you've become distant. That's the cost. Let them whisper, you're building something worth shouting about later. Understand this. You are not here to perform for the crowd. You are not a product of public approval. Your journey is sacred. Your mission is divine. And your purpose will never fit into someone else's comfort zone. So stop explaining your grind. Stop defending your distance. Stop trying to be understood by people who haven't even tried to understand themselves. You don't need closure. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. What you need is silence, execution, and the kind of self-respect that walks away without needing to announce why. Because the moment you stop caring what they think is the moment you become dangerous, not to them, to your own excuses. Number 7, when you level up, expect to lose people. Here's a hard truth no one tells you when you start evolving. Growth comes with losses. Not everyone is meant to make it to your next chapter. And that's not cruelty, that's clarity. You see, when you raise your standards, you don't just change your habits, you change your frequency. And some people, they're still vibrating on the level you outgrew. They won't understand your silence. They'll take offense to your boundaries. They'll say, you've changed, like it's a flaw, but that's exactly what you were supposed to do. You'll lose people who only liked you when you were predictable, when you were accessible, when you played small to make them feel big. But here's what you gain: peace, focus, freedom. You stop explaining growth to minds that have already made up their opinion of you. You stop watering one-sided connections that only grew when it benefited them. This is what leveling up looks like. More isolation, but more clarity. Fewer friends, but deeper alignment. Less noise, but more power. Let them go. Let the doors close. Let the silence speak. Because your future has no room for dead weight. Your next level doesn't require approval. It requires sacrifice. You don't need to fix what was broken. You need to build what's next. Some people were only attached to the version of you that didn't know your worth. So the moment you reclaim it, they vanish. Let them. You're not here to convince anyone you're worthy of respect. You're here to build a life that demands it. And the ones who truly get it, they'll never need an explanation. So, let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them watch in silence. Because you're not here to entertain, you're here to elevate. You don't need to prove your worth to small minds. You don't need to shrink to fit in. You don't need to respond to every insult just to feel heard. That's not strength. That's distraction. And you've outgrown that. But the version of you that's emerging, that version doesn't flinch. That version doesn't chase. That version is too focused building, healing, mastering, rising, to waste time in battles that don't even deserve a warrior. You've made it through storms that would have crushed others. You've carried pain and turned it into power. You've lost people and still found yourself. So walk forward with a calm mind and a fiery purpose. Let the small minds stay in circles. You've got empires to build. Stay silent. Stay sharp. Stay grounded in your growth. Because in the end, those who tried to pull you down will be forced to look up just to see where you've gone. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to even hear the noise. Stay focused. Stay unbothered. And never lower your standards just to be understood. This is your time. Own it.